welcome to our author appearance, I guess. I always feel like we're doing magic when I put it that way for the evening. Author Lynda Simmons has been kind enough to join us. Been looking a bit, and if you just want to look at her website, you'll see her sense of humor and excellent writing. So Lynda is the author of Getting Rid of Rosie and Island Girl. So I'll leave it to Lynda. The floor is yours. Thank you for coming.
Thanks very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate this is a good crowd. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And yes, I am the author of Island Girl and Getting Rid of Rosie, and also these 4 comedies, okay, which I have been, I don't know if any of you know my sister, I've been writing some serialized novellas to go along with the tours of each specific novel. There's a separate serialized novella, and that's been a whole new ball of wax for me, writing these very short. I normally write novels, because even my short stories always turned into novels once I get started. And it's like talking here tonight, you think you're going home at 9? It's, you know, I wrote these serialized novellas, which are 1,000-word chapters, okay, 10 of them. And that was a real exercise in discipline for me, because I'm so used to having, you know, the larger format of a novel that I can just go on, and a chapter can be 20 pages long, you know, and so this was a very good discipline. But I thought I would just talk a little bit about writing, their life. Does anybody here think they would like to write at some point, or have a book in them and always wanted to write something? Yes, okay, I see people, yes, nodding, okay. So people, they say, where do you get your ideas? And sometimes people dismiss that, and they say that it's not a legitimate question, but it really is. It's a legitimate question, because we can all look at the same thing and we all see something completely different. If I gave one scenario, a nurse gets up in the morning, it's on Christmas Day, and she has to work, and she goes down to get her car out of the underground parking lot, and there's a man standing beside her car. Okay, there's a scenario. Now, if each one of us were to take that scenario and write a story, it would all be different. For as many people that there are in this room, that's how many stories there would be, and they would all be different. Okay, so our ideas, they come from everywhere, but it's the writing, the need to write, okay, that I think separates somebody who keeps doing it regardless, and some people who, oh, you know, you try a book, but for me, from the time I was really little, the stories were always right there. And as a child, I was very fortunate that when I would make up things, and
some of them were great.
Some of them were so good. The best one was when I went up and down the street and told everybody my grandmother was dead.
I didn't know you'd say that.
People showed up with casseroles and cakes, you know. And fortunately, my mother and father never said, "You're a liar." Okay, they never did that. Okay, they always said, "Lynda has an imagination." Yes. And they were like very much like, you teach me, they taught me to separate imagination from reality, but they never crushed the imagination. Okay, they fostered it, and they were like, you have a wonderful imagination. So I eventually learned, I'm not a pathological liar, except on fiction, all right? And really, I think that when you write, writers are a little bit crazy, because we dwell on people that don't exist and things that never happened. Okay, and we convince ourselves that they're real, and because we have to, in order to write a book that you will take home and read and say that these characters lived and breathed for you, they have to live and breathe for me too. And so writing is something that, if it's in you, you can't get rid of it. Okay, it doesn't go away. You can take a job, you can do whatever, you can have children, and you can't escape it. Okay, it still sits there. And the longer that you don't take those stories and those characters, and because no matter what you're doing, you're making stories. If somebody tells me an anecdote and they don't fill in all the details, I'm gonna fill them in myself. Okay? And everybody's gonna think you a dirty slut. So you better tell me the details. But so it sits right there. It's kind of like this little gnawing hole, okay, and it gets bigger and bigger, and you can fill it with other things, but it's never going to be completely filled up. It's the stories that keep coming back. And so that's why I keep writing and I keep plugging. And the writing world is very different from when my very first book came out in 1996. The whole publishing industry has changed. It's all just shifted on its axis. And it's very easy now to say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to take a step back and not do this anymore. But if the writing is in you, you can't do that, okay? People say you write for yourself, but that's not really true. I write so that someone else will open it and turn, and those characters will come to life. Because nothing that I write lives until people like you open it up and let the characters live again. Okay, so that's why I write. I don't write for my own satisfaction. I write because the stories are in there, and I'm hoping someone else will hear them. Actors are very much, look at me, okay, up on the stage, la-da-da-da. Writers aren't like that. Writers are, listen to me, okay, I have something to say. And whether you agree with me or not, all right, it's my chance to put it out there as what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing, because each one of us, if that same scenario about the nurse going down to the basement in her car and the man beside it, okay, all of our takes will be different on that story. And all we bring as individuals to the writing world is our own voice, the way that we see that story. And your experiences are different from my experiences, okay? But that's what we bring to writing. And any writer, that's all they bring. There are 36 dramatic situations. That's all. George Pulte wrote the book in the 1930s, 36 dramatic situations. And I challenge you to come up with 37, because you can't. Okay? And Shakespeare's done them all, Charles Dickens did them all, and the Greeks have done them all, and they've all been done and done and done. So what can you bring? You just bring your own unique take and your own unique voice to it. And that's all that we bring to writing. I've been teaching writing for 17 years at Sheridan College, and I taught it at Ryerson as well. And I can teach the elements of fiction. Okay, the elements of fiction are like the elements of music. In music, you have sharps and flats and notes and keyboards, etc. And those elements don't change. And it's always the same. The notes are always going to be the same. The keyboard is going to be the same. The key signatures, all of those things are going to be the same. It's what you do with the notes and the key signatures and the terminologies that determine whether you get a symphony or hip hop. And it's the same with fiction. The elements of fiction are the same. You have viewpoint, you have character, you have dialogue, you have plot, you have all of these things. And setting, those elements don't change. It's what you do with them that gives you a murder mystery or a literary novel. Right? This is what you do with them. So as a teacher, I can teach someone the elements of fiction. I can teach them the building blocks of novel writing. How to put a story together. I can do that. But what I can't teach the passion. Okay, that's in you. And I can't teach timing. I can't teach those things. Those come, I believe, from when we read to children, and everybody encourages reading to children, and I do, because that's where we learn. Storytelling, books, starts with an oral tradition. And that's why we read to children, to tell them stories, so that they learn about anticipation. They learn about the black moments. Oh my gosh, everything is lost. Poor Cinderella. Okay, she's lost her shoes, and now she's back at house, and they're going to hide the shoe, and poor Cinderella. And then, comes the climax and the resolution and the happy ending. Okay, but children learn, and they learn the rhythm of language, and they learn all these things when we tell them stories. And then, as we grow, we learn again. But it's only through hearing this. And sometimes, people, they want to write a book, but they can't. They don't have that passion, that drive to just keep doing it. And just keep doing it. Because it's a very frustrating thing to do. Okay, you're never sure you've got it right. I have 8 published novels and 4 novellas. And I've written serialized novellas for Sun Media. Okay, they were published in the Toronto Sun and all the Sun newspapers all across Canada. And yet every time I sit down to write a story, I'm just as uncertain of my own ability to do it as I was the first time I sat down to write the very first book. It doesn't change. Okay, I'm not sure if that's something because I'm a woman. Women are, by our very natures, less sure of ourselves. Okay, I know that men are like, oh, come on, we have our moments, but honestly, women, by and large, we do question ourselves. The only writer I ever knew who ever said, writer's block? Really? Do plumbers get plumber's block? Okay. You know, it's your job. You do it. And I thought, you know, that's very glib, okay? And it sounds, yes, I'm a professional, I'm right, just do your job. But the problem is that a plumber doesn't get plumber's block because A always goes into B, which always goes into C, all right? Because if it doesn't, you are going to have chaos under the sink. Nobody wants surprises in their plumbing, right? But everybody wants surprises in their fiction. So A doesn't always fit into B and fit into C, because if it does, then you're writing something horrifically formulaic and cliche. And so you want to make sure that A doesn't go into B, and perhaps it'll go to D. Plumbers never have, the basement taps never fall in love with the upstairs showers. You know, it doesn't happen, okay? But in fiction, it's going to always happen, right? Because that brings conflict, because the heart of fiction is conflict, and without conflict, you don't have a story, okay? You have an anecdote. You have chicken soup for the soul. That's why they're short, because there's no, you know, there's a little bit, and then it's all resolved. It's an anecdote. In order to carry a novel, man, you've got to keep having conflict over and over and over again. And so to keep doing it, that's what I can't teach. I can't teach that innate ability to tell a story, to understand the importance of climax and the importance of tension and the importance of the roller coaster. It doesn't matter if you're reading a mystery novel, there's a body and a detective and a solution. If you're reading a romance novel, there's a man, a woman, sometimes there's two men nowadays, sometimes there's two women, but it doesn't matter, it's two people. And at the end, there's a commitment to love. Maybe not to marry, not anymore, nothing like that anymore, but there's a commitment to be together. So you know what you're getting. It's like going to Wonderland, and you get on a roller coaster. And you know where you're getting on, and you know where you're getting off. But it's all about the ride, okay? And that's my job, is to give you a good ride. Okay, so that when you open the book, if my words can reach out and grab you by the throat and hold on, okay, for that whole ride, then I've done my job, okay? And that I can't teach, okay? That's just, that's in a person, okay? People who want to write a book, that's usually because there's something inside there and it's burning away and they want to tell a story. They have a story to tell, okay? And that's just the passion of writing, okay? And people say, but, you know, the characters, well, the characters, writing a book is like method acting, in that you become the character. For those times when you're writing those scenes, you need to become that person. I do this exercise from where I sit, okay? And you imagine yourself as the character, and I always do it, I tell my students to do it, from where I sit as the character. What can I smell? What can I taste? What can I hear? What can I feel? So you would close your eyes, and from where I sit, I can hear the footsteps in the hallway, the door closing, and my heart begins to pound because that bastard's home again. Or my heart begins to pound because the kids are home safe. Or, okay, whatever it is that you think and feel at that moment and you smell, and from where I sit, I can smell the coffee, I can smell the pastries, I can smell anything, whatever your character can smell, and you experience that moment, that place from that character's point of view. Okay, so then you become that character and you write your scene. And how real do characters become? Well, when I was writing Island Girl, okay, I have this one character in there, and when I write a book, I usually write the ending. I go to the cottage, I go away, okay, take myself away from humanity because I'm not fit to be around. So I go to the cottage and yeah, ain't nothing gets shaved, ain't nothing, no, okay, it barely gets washed, okay, I just become this troll, right, just sitting typing. And I have a very good friend who comes with me. My husband, no. I have a very good friend who comes with me to the cottage, and she knows enough, okay, like it's a little teeny cottage, and so I have my little desk in the corner, she sits around the corner of the kitchen, she works. And like, I'll get up in the middle of the night because the scenes are right there and the characters are just there. Just sit down, bang, 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 back to bed, 6 in the morning, get up again. And it, you know, there I'll be, and she'll get up and good morning, just grunt at her. You know, she brings me tea, she makes me sandwiches, she brings me bowls of grapes. She's just wonderful. She's like having a wife. It's a lovely, lovely thing, and she's so generous to do this for me. And when I was writing Island Girl, this is written in 3. A few of you read it, I'm sure a few of you read it, and it's written in 3 viewpoints, 3 first-person viewpoints, from the mother, the 2 daughters. And so there's a lot of research into Alzheimer's and things like that went on in this book. And so when I was writing this one, just in the weeks before, I knew I had to take myself to the cottage because the troll was beginning to take hold, okay? Then I was writing, and I remember surfacing one afternoon and thinking, oh my God, I need to go for a walk or do some exercise or something. So I called the Pilates studio where I had been going prior to Deadline Hell. And you know, I said, Dawn, do you have any classes? Is there any way I can get in? And she was like, yeah, 15 minutes, one's starting, just come right now. There's only one other woman, come right now. Run over to the studio, okay, and I get in, there's this woman, I don't know, she's over there, that's good. And I'm on my little reformer, and I'm doing my thing, and you know, doing my thing. And all of a sudden, 20 minutes into it, this woman, she stops completely, she gets it, she stands and she says to me, do you always travel with an entourage? I was like, well, you know, not always, but some. I said, no, I'm sorry. And she said, because that side of the room is just jammed. I was like, really? And the Pilates instructor says to me, Michelle is sensitive, she can see the spirits around you. They talk to her. And I was like, oh, good. She says to me, they're just all around you, they're yelling. And I was like, I'm really sorry, just pipe down, everybody, just settle down. And she said, there's one, okay, there's one. And she's insisting that she speak to you. And I was like, and she said, Ruth, Rose. And I was like, I'm sorry, that's not ringing any bells. She said, it must. Ruth, Rose. She said, I see water, there's water everywhere. On a seashore or an island, Ruth, Rose. And I said, Ruby? And she said, Ruby, Island. And I was like, Ruby's a character that I'm writing about in a novel. And she said, I don't care. She said, I see this a lot. People writers, etc., when they're working on something, these characters will manifest themselves as real. And she said, Ruby has manifested herself. She's right there beside you. And she is insisting that I talk to you. And I was like, okay, what does Ruby want? I'm like, oh, God damn. She said, she wants you to know that she likes what you're doing with the story, and you need to go ahead and do what you have to do. Because I have to kill Ruby. Okay? So it was awfully good that Ruby was all right with that. Because I can't imagine how horrible it would be if your main character was like, stop right now, that's it, I'm out of here. It would be the worst. So I had permission from Ruby to go ahead. I've never had that before, and I've never had it since. It was only Ruby was the only character that ever did that. But that's how real these, people that don't exist, that's how real they become, okay? And these things that never happened. And so it's hard afterwards when you finish a book and you spend all this time with these people, and they never write, they never call. Just, there you go. Oh, fine, you're happy ending, fine, what about me, But they manifest themselves that way. And I am so fortunate to have a very wonderful husband who understands this, okay? He doesn't write, he can't even write a decent business letter, okay? He has his own business and has for many years, but every time he needs to write a very important letter, he's like, oh. So I do that for him. But he understands that when I come to Deadline Hell, which is those last few weeks, I will become a troll. And I go to the cottage and I just write. And he made the mistake of coming up once, okay, when I was just finishing Island Girl. And he said, I need to get the boat in the water immediately. The summer's coming. It's true. It's going to be a long weekend. Anyway, so fine. Part of me is like, be the nice wife. Okay, and I was like, fine. That'll be fine. You come up and do what you have to do. I'll just continue to write. Okay, so he comes up. And as I say, it's a small place. And it's pouring rain, the poor man. He's outside in the slicker and the boots, and he's doing the boats. He's doing it all, everything, all by himself. And I'm inside. Right, he comes inside. And he's sitting in the chair back over there. I'm like, I can hear you breathing. Gets up, sneaks into the kitchen, sitting on the other side of the wall. I'm like, I can still hear you. So of course, that night we get into bed, and I stick my little hairy legs, and I was like, you want some of this? He's like, smart man. So the next morning I had enough, I couldn't cope anymore. I was like, you need to go home. So the poor man, he goes home, okay? So I did 3 more days, finish the book, finally, come out for air, okay? I'm crying because Ruby's dead. Anyway, so it's very sad. And so I'm like, oh my God, I need a shower. Oh my God, look at, so you do all the whole defuzzing and the hair. Oh my God, look, okay, curls. And I remember you, lipstick. And so then I phoned him again. Hi, honey, when you come back? And he does, because he knows the troll's gone. So, but it's like that. It takes over. And you have to have people really supportive. And I've been so fortunate for these many years to have this man and these kids. The kids, they understood completely. Mom, can I have $20? Yeah. An hour later, Mom's looking at her purse. What you said? Yeah, they glued in real quick. but it's a strange life, okay? And it's all encompassing. When you're actually doing the work, it's just all encompassing. It's all you can think about. You eat, sleep, breathe the book, okay? And that's why when it's over and done, I need space and time to let it settle and let the characters move on, and then I can pick up and write another one again. But there will always be another one. I'm not as confident as Stephen King, who described it as putting quarters in a machine and pulling the handle. And he knew that one day one of them would be big, okay? And he wrote Christine and the Money Poured Out. But he never ever doubted that there would be a lack of quarters. He always figured there would be another story, okay? And for me, I know the stories are there, but I still have, every time I'm like, okay, is this gonna be all right? Is this story gonna work? I don't know. And my husband is very good. He'll say to me, what would you tell a student? I'm like, shut up. Because he knows, right? And I do tell myself, but I would tell them, and then it comes together again. But it still happens, that lack of self-esteem, that lack of confidence. Again, it's always just kind of sits there, and tells you it's not good enough. And they talk. Then you finally write it. It goes out there. You get it published. Oh my God, how wonderful is that? Okay, it gets published, and there it is. It's on a shelf. I remember when I got the first box of books that I ever wrote, because it was called Marrying Well. I wrote it for Harlequin. And it was a comedy. And they arrived, my little box of books. And I took them all out, and I stood them up on the mantle. Side by side. Here they were. Look at them. And then I went around the neighborhood. I gave them to the guy cleaning the pool. I gave them to the UPS man. All these men are like, thank you. Now, I knew better. I shouldn't have done that. But I didn't know then. And I was just, look, I have a book. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it still is. It's that moment, But then it goes out for review. Oh, there's a fresh hell. Oh, that's it. Because yes, if you've seen that Frasier episode with the one guy who didn't like his radio show, it's absolutely true. All of the wonderful reviews that you get, you can quote for years. Years, the one that was like, this was a difficult book to read. What, not enough pictures for you, sweetheart? Words too big. And all these little snappy things you'd love to be able to say, but you can't. Because you can never challenge them. You can't ever. I don't know why. It's just a rule. You must never write a comment to a reviewer. You must never challenge. You must just suck it up and hope that one of your very dear friends will do it for you. That's what you got to hope for. But what I'd like to do is read a little bit from, yep, as I told you, 9 o'clock, you're going to be lucky. I'd like to just read a little bit. Okay, so not everybody. Okay, so bear with me. I'm just going to read a little bit from here. Just so you can get a feel. This was the first time I ever wrote a book in 3 first-person viewpoints, right, which was a challenge. Because I was writing, first of all, from the viewpoint of a woman who was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. And then I was writing from the point of view of her alcoholic daughter. And then I was writing from the point of view of her other daughter, who was in her 30s, but she has the mental ability of about a 10-year-old. So, and now Barbara Kingsolver wrote Poisonwood Bible from 4 different viewpoints, plus the mother's overarching viewpoint from each section. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the Poisonwood Bible. And that took her 7 years to write, because she wrote the entire book in each point of view, okay?
Oh, wow.
And then pulled it up and put it all together. And I can't do that. I needed to write it from each point of view. So, yeah, there I was terribly schizophrenic at that moment. I was like, there I was one day, I was Ruby, and oh my God, the next day I'm Liz and I'm a drunk, you know, and it was, yeah, that's part of the reason why the troll went on for as long as it did, right? Because I was just going back and forth from all these points of view. But it is a very different kind of challenge to write first-person viewpoints and have the voices sound different, so that each character is very unique in the way that they sound, so that the reader knows as soon as they see Ruby, and they can hear Ruby as opposed to Grace, or as opposed to Liz. And that was its own special challenge, but I enjoyed doing it. So this is Ruby. If I were a teenager, this would be a coming-of-age story, but having celebrated my 55th birthday yesterday, complete with champagne, cake, and more candles than anyone wants to see in one place, I suppose this is more a coming-of-old-age story. The tale of a woman well aware that the best is no longer yet to come. Proud that all the years of canoeing and weight training and green tea have given her firm arms, a strong back, and a straight back, and a heart so strong the little darling will probably beat for years and years to come. Yet knowing with aching clarity that none of these things will stop, or even slow, the inevitable decline before her. Fortunately, it's not all bad news. As those thoughtful cards from the humorous birthday section of the Hallmark store pointed out, I may be over the hill and past my best before date, but I am also officially a junior senior now, entitling me to free coffee refill at Donut King and a 10% discount on power tools this week at the hardware store on Sherburne. Pity I swore off coffee 20 years ago and already have a shed full of tools, courtesy of Jack Hoyle, the man who finished renovating my second-floor bedroom yesterday and shared it with me last night after the party. While I never expected my handyman to hang around for the long goodbye, a kiss on the cheek or even an elbow in the ribs would have been better than waking up to find an empty pillow on my right and a few words scrawled on the back of an envelope stuck to the fridge. Catching early flight from Hanlon's. Tools in shed for safekeeping. Good luck, Jack. I couldn't believe it. After everything I'd explained, after everything he'd read, the idiot has still booked a flight out of the island airport. Another blatant example of self-interest trumping reason. Then again, what else would I expect from a man with broad shoulders and a narrow mind? Good luck to you too, Jack, I whispered, dropping the note into the garbage and smiling as I went to plug in the kettle. I'd always meant to tell him that the old shed leaks like a sieve. See if he wanted to stick around a while longer, maybe fix it for me. But like so many things these days, it must have slipped through a crack in my junior-senior mind, and I can't imagine I'll remember to add that repair to one of my lists anytime soon. The lists are everywhere now. Grocery lists, address lists, lists telling me where to go and when and why. I write them to keep myself on track, to stem the flow of details through those damn cracks. For the most part, they work, which is why I am dressed in my best trousers and jacket with my hair freshly highlighted and sprayed into submission. The next ferry leaves at 8:30 a.m. and I plan to be on it, because the first line on today's to-do list reads, Find Liz. And the city is as good a place to start as any. So, any other questions? Anything else? Well, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you're interested, I do have books. Big sale. If you read electronic books, they just announced today that Just the Way You Are, Love, Albert, and Perfect Fit are all available for 99 cents at Amazon, electronically. Print copies are $10. I do take credit cards. If anybody would like to purchase a book, I'm happy to sell you one. And, so thank you very much.